Hi, everyone. Just checking on the sound. Can you hear me? Is everything fine?
Yes.
Yes? Perfect. I'm using Zoom because I want to try to make everything more interactive. These webinars, I know that when you have webinars with 100, 200 people, well, there's less room for you to ask questions and things like that. All right? I've unmuted you, so there's no video, but you can speak. All right?
Okay.
Okay, perfect. I'm using Zoom because I like the screen sharing option.
Mm-hmm.
Is everything working fine with everyone?
So yes, that's good.
Yes? You can either speak or write in the chat.
Mm-hmm. Great.
All right, that's almost all of you. So as I said before, we're having small groups like that so we can have more interactive and you can ask questions, because the whole goal here is to plan for lessons efficiently. All right. I'm going to now share my screen with you. Again, we're taking it slow. There's still some people that are going to join. I just want you to tell me if everything works fine. I'm going to share my screen. Can you see everything?
Yes. Database.
Yes, everything is fine. We're on the database.
Yes.
Everybody can see, right?
Mm-hmm, that's right. Hello,
Perfect.
Anton.
Okay, I'm just admitting Anastasia. There shouldn't be more than 10 of us today, so that way we can focus. All right, let's dive in.
Okay, let's start.
Yeah. Okay, I'm unbidding as well. There we go. So as you can see, I've opened my database. I'm being Tom right now because Tom's a teacher. Don't tell Tom I stole his account.
Okay.
You should all when you open the website, you should all have the same thing, right? Grammar is automatically selected here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you're using these filters, when you first start, it's automatically settled on grammar, but actually, I don't know if you've looked into it, there's a lot more than just grammar here. So today I want to talk about soft skills, because soft skills are more and more part of education, part of our lessons, and that's something I find where we have very, very little materials out there online or in textbooks. So we've developed quite a lot of material for these higher level students that develop very specific communication skills.
Mm-hmm.
So a little demonstration first. I don't know if you've noticed that you can click on these elements here. I'm quite proud of that. That's how I like searching. I made it like this because I find it convenient. You see right now, I've selected grammar, so I see all grammar activities. But I can easily filter just by clicking like this. Oh, I want tweens only. Okay, tweens. I click. It filters out only tweens. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If I want something that is, oh, I see C1 here, I'm not happy with that. I only need B1, B2. I just click on B1, B2, and again, it filters everything. You see what I mean?
Yes, quite
Yes.
understandable.
Whenever you want to, here we're limiting the search, right? And if you want to go back, same thing. All you need to do is click. You see I have tweens here. Tweens is clicked, but if I click again on tweens, it disappears.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's, I hope, like, I like it this way. It's a very fast way to look for activities. Just in a few clicks, I see, oh, grammar B1, B2, I see used to, didn't used to. I click on used to, didn't used to, and it limits to just that. If I click it again, we go back to all grammar for B1, B2 levels. I can do that with anything. I can also fine-tune, for example, multiple criteria. So let's say we don't care about level. We're just looking for something, for example, conditionals. Sometimes there are more than conditionals. You see, I select first conditional and future time clauses. But for example, if I want to include second conditional as well, I just click on second conditional. Boom, it filters out. Every time you click on a little element like this, it filters out. And if you want to filter back up, you just click on it. It disappears. First conditional disappears. Grammar disappears. So you always need something here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take out grammar. And we're going to pick soft skills. So here we have only soft skills. You'll notice that the level we put is C2, C1, C2 usually. We're going to change that because over the last year, we did a lot of these activities with actually B1, B2 level students. B1, they can struggle with some of these, but at B2 level, they should be ready to at least have some fun. And I'm going to show you different level activities of soft skills that you can do already at certain levels. For example, B2. Let's take a look at negative questions. What do you think negative questions are about?
Don't
Any
you want
ideas?
to go to the cinema?
Sorry?
Don't you want to go to the cinema? Yeah?
What that kind of question? Don't you want to go to the cinema? Is it really a question?
Suggestion? Yes. Why not?
In terms of grammar, yes, it is a question. But when you
It's
ask,
kind of a request.
don't you want to go to the cinema? Is that really a question you're asking me?
Maybe a kind of suggestion. Really.
Exactly. Negative questions, we use them a lot actually in English to imply things. So I'm just going to open negative questions, for example. So you see, this is a P1 type activity.
Mm-hmm.
So in a P1 type activity, you have, in general, the strategies. You'll have a little reading text and different strategies on how to make them. And then some P1 activities.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to always download activities to see what is in there. You see here, you see it all here. Negative questions, basic practice, C2. So it's all described here. Not all questions are simple requests for information. Making a question negative changes entirely how the question is interpreted in English. Negative questions are much less open-ended in communication. it's usually loaded with meaning. When, for example, what you just said, Antoine, don't you want to go to the cinema?
Mm-hmm.
You're implying that I should.
Yeah.
Maybe you're inviting me and I said no, for example, and you're like, seriously, Antoine, don't you want to go to the cinema? Don't you want to see the new Tarantino movie? You talked about it last week, I remember. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. So here you have some examples. Don't you know him? I think you know him. If you don't, I'll be surprised. Wouldn't you do that? I'm sure you would do that in this situation. Isn't it great? Isn't this activity great? If I ask you that, I'm kind of not
Yes.
leaving you a lot of choice in your answer. If you tell me no in English, I would be a little offended or something like that. So this I find is something, it's a lot of fun. It's easy to incorporate in lessons, and it's actually very useful. The students develop very, very good soft skills, very good fluency when you work with these negative questions on how to imply things. And so here on the right, you have all the materials that you can download. I'm sure you've noticed the preview. You just open the preview. I want to read before I download to make sure that I don't download something for nothing. So you see, the beginning is the same as we read on the website. There are more examples. You see here, we give the example. Remember, if you contradict what someone thinks is true, like as expressed in a negative question, they will act surprised. It's like A says, isn't this ice cream great? And B goes, no, actually, I've had better. Really? You've had better than this ice cream? Where? How? When? I want to know. This is a lot of fun and it's very useful. So you can preview in this way, or if you just click on the activity, it downloads automatically. I got the comment, just for quick feedback, I got the comment, would you find it useful to have a direct print option here instead of downloading?
No matter.
No matter. All right. You can speak. Don't worry. I know I call it a webinar, and usually webinars are more closed. The speaker speaks, and you can kind of chat. But as we're preparing for the 1st of September, for the start of the academic year, I prefer to organize this in this way. Like, we're a smaller group. That's why you're unmuted and we can talk. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So here you see you have 3 different PDF activities of basic practice, 4 actually. 4 activities of basic practice here. These again are P1 activities. Again, this is something I often mention in my emails, and please don't hesitate.
Mm-hmm.
If there's something you like and you see and you need, and there's not enough of, for example, you do negative questions and you use all 4 of these P1s, and you want more, it's not enough, please do. Don't hesitate to email me, because Tom and I, we spend every week working on new materials, uploading new materials, and we might be working on something like that, or it might be waiting, and if you just tell us, we'll upload it or we'll finish it. So don't hesitate. If you need new stuff, right. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to show you this activity. Negative questions, for sure. That's a great soft skill. As you see, negative questions, you can start doing that at B1, B2 level. It's already very useful for them to have fun, to play with that. And I find it's a great way if your students are struggling, you're doing a lot of grammar and you often had to do question forms with them. The students get a bit tired of that. They get a bit bored because it's always grammar, questions, what's so special about it? And the materials for that tend to be very common, like make the questions, like in writing, form the questions and then ask and answer each other. If you do too much of that, students can tend to get bored. And I like, once in a while, if I see that my students are struggling with questions, we need to work too much on it, well, I'll include negative questions here and there. These little materials, you have 4 P1s, for example, and they can be adapted to different levels. And the students have more fun with it. It's kind of fun for them to ask and answer negative questions, because an activity where you have to ask and answer negative questions, there's a lot of implied meaning. So it's a lot of fun. For example, in the activity, if we were students and you tell Antoine, don't you want to go to the cinema? I would have to answer in a negative way, for example, and we could have a very short conversation on that. Well, actually, no, I don't. Really? Why don't you want to go to the cinema? The new Tarantino movie is out. I know, but I haven't heard good things about it. And we can have a short conversation like that. So you can combine negative questions with your usual grammar. Basically, don't limit yourself to C2 for negative questions. As you can see, there's also a P3. You know how much I love P3s. So in a P3, so here we have instructions PDF. The instructions are here as well. And then you have all the cards. So are you saying, maybe you remember a similar activity that I like to play with old people. Are you saying this activity gives students the chance to interpret and respond to negative questions? It's what I was talking about. So first, students start off with small talk. You give them a topic, maybe like building dexterity, those kind of little cards. And then each student takes 2-3 negative question cards. And during the conversation, they must say these questions, and the partner should react appropriately. Let me give you an idea. We'll just click on preview. I won't download it. Boom. Isn't your neighbor some sort of criminal? Don't you want to take a nap or something? Don't you have some sort of strange hobby? So it's a lot of fun. Students have to respond to these kind of awkward negative questions in the middle of a regular speaking activity. As I said again, you see, we talk about small talk. It's a good way to start this activity, but you can include these negative question cards in a lot of different P3s and productions. This is the first soft skills I wanted to show you. I find it's really easy to put in place, and it really is going to, as I put it in the email, dazzle your students. This is something that they're not used to, and yet they will very easily see the practical use of it. Any questions on negative questions? Any comments?
Is this database used for teachers and students both, or this program is only for teachers?
Only for teachers, only for teachers.
Okay.
Maybe you're asking because you see students here in groups, yes?
Maybe, yes.
Yes. So you don't have that in your version. For now, we're concentrating only on the materials creation and the filter system. We want to help. We want this year basically to really help you prepare and plan for lessons more efficiently. That it goes faster. Honestly, the best feedback I got, there was a teacher in France who teaches dyslexic students. And we met in Paris at the last TESOL conference. And after getting on our database, she says it takes her about 15-20 minutes maximum to prepare for lessons. That's exactly the kind of thing we want to do. On the long run, what we would like to, we're working on this, so we would like for you to be able to have your own registers on this so that you can remember which activities you used with which groups. It looks a bit like this for now. You see, it's not practical yet. So this is it. only Tom has it because I'm experimenting with the programming on how it will be useful to you. So yes, you're absolutely right to ask. If I click on students here, you see Bob Boberson, it's not a real student. It's a test student. I'm assuming that this is Tom's student, and Tom would create a register for Bob Boberson. And you see, he's in the group, individuals for Bob Boberson, and I can have a look at his register. And Tom can see what he's done in each activity. So in first activity, he did drag 2. You don't have access to this yet because I'm still working on the programming, because as you saw, there are a lot of clicks before you can open the register. It's not convenient yet, so I don't want to bother you with that. For now, we just concentrate on the activities, and in the background, I'm preparing how to program the registers so that it's just 1 or 2 clicks, and it's very easy for you to create a register for your students, and then add materials, and so that like during the year, you can check what you used, what you didn't use.
Antoine, and can I monitor their success, not success, but success in studies?
That's my goal, yes. My goal, I'm an engineer, so I like playing with these things. My goal is that on the registers, you'll put a grade for the students. And I want the program to basically advise you activities so that if, for example, you put, I don't know, you did present continuous with that student today, and the P2 activities, you're not too happy. It was, you give him a 3, for example. Well, our website could automatically tell you, hey, if he only got a 3 at the present continuous P2 activities, you can use this new P2 activity for the next lesson, for him to progress to 4, for example.
Thank you.
So here we're talking more about the future. That's what I want to do this year.
Good plans.
Thanks. And about negative questions, everything is clear?
Yes.
Yes?
Problems.
I really like negative questions. It's the first one I wanted to show you. And again, if you start using negative questions and you need more P1s, need more P3s, write. Don't hesitate to write. Really, I think you've noticed I answer, right?
Right.
If I don't answer, don't hesitate to tell me. So you see here, I'm in soft skills and I have negative questions, but I've had enough of those. Instead of, I can use this, but instead I can also just click again on negative questions, and negative questions, we go back to general soft skills. So negative questions, very, very nice. I highly recommend it. Now, as you see, there are a lot of other soft skills. I'm not going to go over them all because some of them are really for higher levels. And if you're interested in talking about more soft skills, we can do it at a later time. Now I'd like to concentrate on what we can immediately use at the beginning of the year. I want to show you this. You see there are 2 labels here, decreasing formality and levels of formality. This is also something Tom and I are very happy with. It's really helped our students a lot. Because mostly I find in textbooks, in most materials, students are told something is either formal or informal. And that's not really, life is not that black or white. There are actually a lot of different levels of formality, and it's very useful for students to play with this, to have fun with it. Any age level, kids, tweens as well, they need to be able to play with it. When I play on levels of formality with kids, for example, I'll give them different roles, and they actually have fun playing the mother, the father, and even the grandfather, the grandmother in different role plays like that. And I find it's the easiest way for kids to picture the different levels of formality, because there's one level of formality with parents and another one with grandparents usually. Kids allow themselves to be more direct with their parents because they see them every day, and grandparents are usually more Uh-huh, yes, grandma. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. So they're even more formal. So they have fun playing with that. So check it out. Here, levels of formality, decreasing levels of formality. There are already more activities, as you can see. There's a P3 here, P3, two P1s, and a third P1 here. The P1s are different. You see, recognizing inconsistencies in formality, storytelling, that's a bit more serious. You see, you even have business skills on it. And here, decreasing formality through vocabulary, it is partially a business skill, but it absolutely doesn't have to. There's a PDF of the activity for the students and an answer key for us. Let's check it out, for example. Toning down formality. This is basically focusing on vocabulary and functional language. So the students will not see the answers on the right. And we do this so that you can choose which way you want to do this. This can be an open discussion, a brainstorming where the students come up with their own ideas, or it can be more teacher-led, based on a video or something like that, some materials from the textbooks. As you can see, the goal is just to have fun with vocabulary that is very common in textbooks, but it's actually, in English, very formal. Textbooks often teach, for example, the verb arrive very early on. And actually, the verb arrive is not that commonly used in everyday spoken English. We're much more likely to use the words come, get, show up, turn up. As you can see, you already have two phrasal verbs here that just come naturally in the context. Same thing, discover, find, dig up, invent, come up with, think up, return, give back, get back, go back, pay back. What we're trying to give students here are different levels of formality. And the students will understand that the more you use phrasal verbs, usually in English, the more informal you are. There are certain phrasal verbs that are very formal, like I look forward to. But most phrasal verbs, like here you can see show up, turn up, that's definitely a more informal way of saying arrive. Sorry? I thought someone tried to say something. No?
No.
So, and then you have P1 activities like rewrite the sentences using a less formal version and things like that. So P1 activities are, again, straightforward, and you can use them in different ways. As I said, teacher-led or student-led. Those are the introductions. And then you see the name of the P3 activity. I think by now you know that Tom and I like being ridiculous. So being ridiculous. Well, this activity, you can read the instructions again. It's made to give the students the chance to display their understanding of that, of the different levels of formality. So we're going to have different situation cards, and the students are going to have fun doing small talk, but being either very formal or very informal. And we call it Be Ridiculous because we encourage our students to be ridiculous in these situations. Let's have a look at the preview. So let's say you're friends in a restaurant. The students can have fun being overly formal to picture how unnatural the situation is. Your friends deciding which movie to see at the movie theater. Your strangers sitting next to one another on a train. Just include building dexterity or small talk cards, and maybe just put on the board different levels of formality, and the students roll a dice, and boom, there you have it. This is a P3 activity that you can basically combine, again, like negative questions, with a lot of different topics that come up in your textbooks and things like that, and where the communication activities are not always very engaging for the students. This kind of thing I did throughout the whole last year and the previous years. This actually is pretty new. I think this was in February or March. It works like a charm. You're two bandmates in the middle of writing a song together and you have a disagreement on what makes a good song. So that's it. Be ridiculous. Any questions? Any comments on levels of formality?
That's interesting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Everything is clear, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes? This one activity here, recognizing inconsistencies. So look, again, preview, you don't need to download the activities every time because that's pretty heavy. I just do a preview. Informal storytelling, recognizing inconsistencies. Here you see that we're going more in details. So I would start with the two other P1 activities just on vocabulary. And then, this is very, very useful. You can use it as well for exam preparation because storytelling can be done in a lot of different ways. So I like doing this after a few activities, after a few lessons on narrative tenses. You remember when we do past simple moves the story, past continuous paints a picture, stories where students have fun making stories? Well, this is again a very good time after a few to mix things up so that they're not always practicing narrative tenses in the same way. They don't feel like it's going through again the same motions and okay, we've done this before. You spice it up with informal storytelling. Take a look at the stories here, the examples we have on this. Oops, I clicked on it. We're going to the next page already. Okay. Hoppa. When you click on it, it goes to the next page. Look at this, story one. So get this, I'm like sitting in my chair, minding my own business, when this guy comes up to me, he says, "It's nice to see you, Mr. President." I'm thinking to myself, what? Have we met? So we have this conversation about trade and stuff like that for something like 30 minutes. And then he suggests that our offices stay in touch. I say, great idea, but in my head I'm thinking, I don't know who you are, man. How formal was that story?
Quite informal.
Completely informal. Using expressions like this, get this, I'm like. This is going to speak to students because that's what they hear online. In real life, there are very, very few people who will tell stories the same way students see stories in textbooks. Most of the time, it's going to be like this. Story one is very informal. Get this, like, he says, and you notice that the story is not in past. Story two. Nurse, please hand me the scalpel. Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't cut there, Vern. You got to take it easy. Go get some coffee or something, my man. Jeez, it's like you've never performed heart surgery before.
The same.
What's a bit special here? I agree it's very informal. But what's special in this story too? What are we trying to show students?
Here we can see more informal words. My man, for example, geez.
You're absolutely right. And I would add, do you see links? Do you understand his story?
Okay.
I have a general idea, like, okay, it's probably a doctor and a nurse in an operating room, but it's not really clear what's going on. There's some trouble with a scalpel. So here we're showing also to students that the more informal you go and the less linking words you have, well, the less clear you are. A story like this spoken is going to go with gestures and things like that and more context, and we're going to understand it. But if you write your stories like this, nobody's going to understand you. If this is a written story, I don't understand what's going on here. It's not a clear story at all. Story 3. Given the difficult financial circumstances thrust upon the company by new regulations, we're going to have to fire a ton of you next month. Super sorry about that. We wouldn't do it if it weren't for all this tough stuff going on. That's life, I guess. We wish you the best of luck in the future, and we will provide any support we can to get you through these difficult times. What's wrong here?
Something in the middle, maybe. Yes. Super sorry about that. It's not formal style, so that's why.
The first sentence is very formal, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can picture this at an official business meeting, the CEO explaining to everyone, given the difficult financial circumstances. So this kind of shifting from one writing style to another, that's also something, it's very important for students to feel this soft skill. Formality here is very important. There are different degrees, and you cannot stray away from your degrees of formality in writing styles, in speaking styles. I used this last year. We developed this last year specifically because we noticed that we had teens preparing for exam preparation, preparing for exams. Some of them were for YGE, some of them were a bit older and they were preparing for IELTS. And in their writing assignments, I would see both formal structures that they had learned from their teacher, you know? It's like, okay, you should end your sentence, your email with, I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to hearing from you. But then in the middle, things like that, they would incorporate more spoken vocabulary, more speaking style writing. And we developed this activity especially for them to feel that, the difference, how wrong it feels when you're reading this. So I highly recommend using this with teens, preparing for exams, things like that. This is something not so important for others. If you just click, you go on page 2, and you'll see different exercises, P1 type of exercises on exactly this soft skill as well. Okay? Write the messages to the assigned audience in a way that addresses appropriate levels of familiarity and formality. Mm-hmm. So number 1, there are elderly people who live next door, and your message, you want them to be quieter. The second is teenagers living next door. The message is the same, be quieter. So students play with that, different ways of saying the same message. I would start this around B2 level. You can keep it for later, but really, I've used this for B2 level, it's fine. Great stuff during the year for students to feel different levels of formality. Any questions, comments on that? Decreasing formality, levels of formality?
No, thank you for examples of exercises.
Clear?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Wow.
Levels of formality, decreasing formality. I love it. You see, check it out. The last exercise I showed you was also storytelling. So again, just to demonstrate, because I don't want you to struggle clicking too many times, just to demonstrate. I find this activity and I want more storytelling exercises. I see that there are no more levels of formality and storytelling exercises, but maybe I want to see more storytelling exercises. So I click storytelling, I unclick levels of formality, and I have storytelling. I still have soft skills. So apparently that's the only activity for storytelling and soft skills. But there are a lot of storytelling probably in grammar. So I'll unclick soft skills and only click storytelling. Oh, that's weird. I remember I clearly remember adding some last week. No, I'll make a note of that. Okay, I'll add more storytelling activities then. All right. We've done two things, right? Negative questions, level of formality. Now, let's go back to our soft skills. The next one I wanted to show you, debate skills. I've heard a lot of requests for that because, well, that's something students need for exams, unfortunately, anyways. But also for professionals, things like that. That's a lot of students need debate skills in English.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So again, here you see 4 activities, and you can quickly see production, P3, 2 P3s, and a P1. Let's open the P1. Boom, preview. Now, here we're getting into longer explanations, longer strategies. When you see the word strategy on these soft skills, all these strategies, we're not making them up. We read a lot of communication books, psychology books, and everything like that. And what we try to do is combine the information into clear, simple steps. So that's what we mean by strategies. We'll always include 3-4 different steps that students can easily memorize, analyze, and then practice to play with these different things, these different elements. So debate skills, it's very important. Going into all conversations, as you can read, with the naive assumption that everyone is in it for the greater good won't always yield the best results. While you see mutually beneficial opportunities for all, others may be acting from the assumption that your relationship is a zero-sum game. They're playing a game you don't know you're playing. So it's how to recognize and avoid all these manipulation techniques and debate skills and things like that. So trap 1, pointed questions. You see, you have the example here. When someone asks you a seemingly innocent question, you have to consider where they're going for it, where they're going with it. For example, if you're asked, do you believe that people should be independent and self-reliant? Well, if you think just that's a reasonable position, people aren't babies after all, you answer in the affirmative, and then your questioner can go on a trade. Are you saying that you don't believe in social programs for the poor and homeless? Do you really think that you should just let people die in the streets because they're not independent enough in your estimation? These are actually examples that we've been in debates where people set traps like that with very pointed question. I mean, in general, the question, do you believe that people should be independent and self-reliant? I would say yes. Yes, people are adult human beings, should be. That doesn't mean I don't support social programs. Actually, I'm a European, so you can guess that we have a lot of social programs, and that's kind of how I was raised. Minimal income, pension, things like that. We often have this debate with Tom, for example. Tom is more American. The American way, there are much less social programs, things like that. So actually, yes, this could be a trap that Tom would put in a debate with me if we're debating social programs and why we pay taxes, things like that. I can easily picture him using a trap question like that. So as you see, these are different strategies, different traps, and the students have fun. Well, first there's a long intro to it. Trap 2, say what they're saying, things like that. This is a much larger activity. Debate skills, this whole P1, this you can use over a few lessons. And if we go back to all the activities, you can imagine what the P3 activities are like. These debate skills are pretty serious, but at the same time, we always enjoy putting a bit of abstract in there so that the students have fun with it. So, for example, conversation snares. These are little traps. Students are going to practice trapping each other in different corners using an innocent question. So student A takes a trap card. Student A begins a conversation with student B. They will not start immediately by asking the trap question. What they want to do is, at one point, very quickly, put their trap question out there and try to trap B into an uncomfortable position. Let's have a look at the questions. So there are some serious ones and there are some more fun ones. With teens, for example, make your partner defend stopping use of the internet. Make your partner defend lowering the legal age to enter a work contract. Make your partner defend criminals. Make your partner defend fast food. What the students are going to do here is first think of their strategy. One or two trap questions that they could trap their counterpart in, where it sounds like student B is defending criminals, for example. He's defending hunting. He's defending bullies in school. You see the last one? These are trap cards. This is conversation snares. And make it look like debate skills. Make it look like, check it out. Here, we're gonna give students implication cards, make it look cards. So student A takes an implication card and his or her goal is to make it look like that is the position of the other person. So student A is going to try to, one or two, maybe three trap questions to try to put this student B in that position. Look at the cards. Same thing. Look at the third one. Make it look like your partner intends to rob you. Make it look like your partner hates all dentists. Make it look like your partner thinks art is a waste of time. Make it look like your partner hates a very cute animal. These are all, again, soft skills that students are going to practice. These conversation snares, these make it look like P3 activities, they're P3 because they're specifically designed for students to practice the traps in order, and then there's a big production activity for proper debate skills. Blood in the water is kind of an expression to mean a very, very hard debate, a strong debate. Here, student A is a reporter, student B is a person about whom A should write an article. So students take a profession card. That card shows B's profession. It's not a secret, they both see it. Okay, let me show you the profession cards. So both students know, for example, that the student B is a children's book author, or he's an action movie star, he's a passerby who witnessed a crime last weekend. This card is for one situation only, and both students know about it. Then student A interviews student B for the article, and student A is going to attempt to make B look bad using the techniques in the debate skills. These debate skills are not the easiest, but they really help students look at debates in a more broader perspective. Instead of always directly going into a debate thinking, okay, I have my answer to the debate, okay, my arguments A, B, C, okay, now I can make my intro, now I can make my conclusion. Approaching debates in this technique is going to limit students because they don't think of the perspective of the others first. and they have to be able to adapt their debate quickly. And these debate skills, leading to conclusions, it really helps in that way. You see, it's called leading to conclusions. You're trying to lead the other person to a conclusion without going A, B, C, these are my arguments, that's what I think. No, you're using questions to guide them to that conclusion. Questions, comments on debate skills? Nothing? Everything clear?
Yes, completely.
All right. So, wait, what am I doing? So,
I've got a question actually about defending, for example, bullies or somebody else. Should we give a kind of plan of their speech, maybe basic phrases for this, or what is the way how should they students realize this task, maybe and, cope with this task? What is the way? They can't do it just if they'll get just the card. They won't. It will be difficult just to talk.
So first thing, there's the level. Here I fully agree. The first two soft skills we did, you can definitely do it at P2 at B2 level. Negative questions and different levels of formality, you can definitely start that at B2. And with smart students, you can do it at B1 level as well. I agree that here, debate skills, this is we're clearly reaching here C1 level.
Mm-hmm.
You need to take the right amount of time going through this P1, the strategies. You see, we have a whole page on trap 1. Trap 2. I don't know if you can see here at the bottom, this is page 3 out of 7. So you have a lot of P1s to practice this. Trap 3, you see you have lots of examples and clear explanations. I use this as a kind of reading task for my students.
Okay, some structures.
Page 4, now you finally have exercises where the students first, I agree with you, they're going to practice this in written format. So first, this is vocabulary from the activity, from the readings, and then look, for example, exercise 2, you're giving a talk for your coworkers about efficient spending, blah, blah, blah. You're taking questions from audience members. Your evil coworker, Steve, raises his hand and comes at you with these questions and comments. Describe how you would respond. So you respond to, first, we don't make them ask the questions. First, they practice answering questions like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So that's the strategy. You definitely want to start with the strategy. This is a more difficult soft skill, I agree.
Yeah, it's written there that it's for C2 level, actually.
Yes.
And are there any soft skills activities for lower levels, like A2 or something like that?
Negative questions, levels of formality, as I said, I've done them at B1, B2 level. You have no trouble. As I said, when we were describing the activities, negative questions, you can combine them with any kind of activities you do on questions. After the A levels, okay? A0, A1, A2, be calm on soft skills, but B1, B2 level, I start using negative questions. I start putting some cards, some P3s, some P1s on negative questions.
Starting from B1, yeah?
Sorry?
Starting from B1 level.
Negative questions, yes. Levels of formality, same thing. B1, B2, it's them. Debate skills, we're at C1, C2 level, I agree.
Okay, thank you.
Let me show you something for more lower then. Okay, let's get out of debate skills. Do you remember how we like to explain present perfect? Well, it's there, right there. Remember, present perfect explains now, and we talk a lot about implying. Whenever we use perfect tenses in English, we're kind of trying to imply ulterior motive. There's subtext when we use present perfect tenses. Well, same thing. We have a nice little soft skill activity called basically implying in English, and these can be used throughout courses, especially with, for example, present perfect type activities. In these activities, what you'll do is students will have fun practicing what you've already taught them with perfect tenses. Let me show you softening the blow. So again, here we're dealing with a soft skill that is pretty important, I find, for our students, because you know me, you know me pretty well already now. You know that one of the things that I absolutely love about Russian culture and Russian manners are how direct. There's much less subtext. You have words, you're a human being, an adult human being, just express yourself. Say what you want to say. In English, we're always more cunning. I like giving the example. For example, we're in our team. We're a team of foreigners and Russians working together, and there's sometimes Tom and I need to learn to be more direct, because let's say I expected my team to send me some kind of report or something like that. I didn't receive it. The normal human reaction should be just to tell the person concerned, I asked for the report, please send it to me. You might have forgotten about it. But we tend to say things like, I'll come up to the person and go like, I haven't received the report. Which is full of an implication to me, because I'm used to it. I'm implying, you haven't done it, send it to me, please. Or do it if you haven't done it. If you've done it, send it to me. But actually, if I just come up to someone and say, well, I haven't received the report, if there's no subtext, the person will just answer, well, yeah, you haven't received. I haven't sent it. It's normal you haven't received it, Antoine. Think. So students are going to have fun with that. Softening the blow, this is kind of like sugarcoating, implying, use of intonation, word choice. The students are going to have the opportunity to give some bad news, but in a much different way, implying it. Let's have a look at the bad news cards. Give your partner the following bad news. The police are investigating him or her for arson. How could you do that? Students can have fun with it with negative questions, with present perfect explains for now. Weren't you close to that building that caught fire yesterday? Didn't the police ask you a few questions after that? So you're kind of implying, and you need to soften the blow instead of just coming up to a person, hey, you know what? The police came to talk to me, they're investigating you for arson. Well, these negative questions or present perfect, I saw you've bought quite a lot of lighting liquid, haven't you? And these kind of activities, again, they have nothing to do with direct grammar or vocabulary. They can be easily incorporated into grammar lessons, vocab lessons, functional language lessons, but completely give a new dimension to the lesson. Look at the third one. Give your partner the bad news. The price of chocolate has increased 300%. I mean, that's horrible news for like 95% of the human population, isn't it? The fifth one. Give your partner the bad news. He or she is not a superhero. Sorry.
And the partner gives a reaction, yes?
Exactly. These are P3 activities. It's kind of similar to convince and shock and brag in this way. There's just one part, the student A takes the card.
Yes.
They know what bad news they have to deliver, and they try to deliver it, and student B reacts in a natural way. There are a lot of cards because it's a P3 activity. Remember, P3 activities, it's very short dialogues. It should be natural. And then the students take the next card and perform the next dialogue. They develop their fluency very rapidly with activities like this. There's even a production activity, partner in crime. So here again, the students are going to hint at things, not say things directly. So each partner here should hint at the other about a crime that they want to commit. But they don't want to be too direct because, hey, other students might be cops. Now check it out. So here you have the quick description and the instructions of the activity. And you'll see that I'll show you the crime cards afterwards, but there is a dice setup that you can do that makes the activity a bit more fun. Student B, he could be wearing a wire. Do you know a wire, like a secret microphone? So like the student A, for example, in this scenario, if student A rolls 1 or 2, they're wearing a wire. It means that they have a secret microphone from the FBI or the CIA or the FSB, whatever, here, and they're trying to catch student A. So student A should only imply the crime. He shouldn't be direct about it. Roll 3 or 4, you're a goody two-shoes. The goody two-shoes never does anything bad. So they're going to be all, no, that doesn't sound good. And if you roll 5 or 6, student B is interested. So student B is going to react differently to the implications of a crime. Let's have a look at the crimes.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we're not trying to push our students to be criminals. This is just for fun. You want to steal some TVs from a big warehouse. You want to cheat the lottery. You want to start a Ponzi scheme with a new type of cryptocurrency. I mean, people love talking about that kind of thing at the moment. It sounds cool, it sounds fun, and they can't talk about it directly. They have to imply it. It's good fun. I really highly recommend this activity. I've done it loads with... I have not used this activity with teams myself, honestly, but with corporate clients and business people, it works like a charm. They have lots of fun implying things like that. And what they're going to be able to do later on when they go to their conferences and things like that, they're going to be able to not say everything directly, to not give out all the information that they have immediately. They're going to be able to imply things. Any questions on this, implying in English?
No.
No?
No, that's clear.
I know actually that Tom right now is preparing new cards for these, so again, if you use this and you want more cards, don't hesitate to write. I'll let you know if you need to wait because we're, unfortunately, like we have conferences or things like that, or if we're working on them right now, or if we have free time, we'll develop them.
Okay.
Okay? Implying in English, it's called. I like it a lot. Look, I just wanted to show you as well that you can type here. Because I don't know if you've noticed. Yeah, there's 6 whole pages of activities for soft skills, so there are a lot of them. We won't have time to go over them all in just one. But you can also just type here, for example. So this is something also that I wanted to show you because if any of you are teaching teens and adults and corporates and things like that, this is a big, big deal for them. Same thing, we're gonna have a P1 activity, and here not a P3, but directly a production activity. A sales pitch, do you know what a sales pitch is?
No.
A sales pitch is like a sales message. Students are going to play with this. So here again, I would come back to your question, for example, about debate skills. Debate skills, you saw that is challenging. Debate skills is challenging. That's one of the much higher level soft skills. I would keep that for much higher levels. Making a sales pitch is something that our students more directly need more often in everyday life, because I mean, we call it sales pitch, but actually it's about convincing others, and it doesn't have to be only about sales. It can also be selling an idea to your boss, selling an idea to your teacher, to your professor. It's convincing. So again, here we start with strategies. You see, speak to their needs, ask questions, confirm needs, build trust. Page 2 is loading. Never speak ill of competitors. All these things are very important things that we've been reading about. That's page 2. Let's go to page 3. I misclicked. There we go. We're expanding the image. Bam! Believe in it, of course. Last tip. So again, students in these strategies, they always have at least 3-4 P1 activities for you to have really good fill in the blanks, make the questions, make the sentences, just good start of activities. As we say, in P1, we're just checking understanding. Is sales pitch clear? So this is about vocabulary, for example. And expand. There we go. You're working for a charity, trying to convince passers-by outside to give money to a foundation that saves whales. How would you frame your message to speak to the following people? It might sound corny, but honestly, I don't know about you. I've noticed more and more of these people actually. Right by where I live. Yesterday I came back from Yaroslavl, the Dimitri conference, and it was amazing. My first time in Yaroslavl, honestly, like, it's really beautiful. I definitely want to go back. But coming back to Yaroslavl, I get out of the metro, and one of the first things I noticed, there are a couple of people there working. I forget if it was for Greenpeace or Worldwide Fund, but they were trying to convince people to give a bit of money to a foundation, things like that. And that's a good ethical example of a sales pitch. They are trying to get money from the people who are walking by, but well, it's for a charity, it's a foundation trying to save whales. So how would you frame your message to speak to the following people? And the students are going to have fun. You see here, it's a good P1 because students get to look again at the strategies and think, okay, how would I talk about giving money to save whales to an older woman who looks very, very wealthy, a teenage girl and boy who seem to be on a date, a young businessman, a mother with a young child, a male college student. These are very good soft skills. What would you say about the level? Do you think this would only, we should only keep for C1, C2 level? What do you think? I definitely agree. I've had no trouble working on this at B2 level, honestly. The grammar, the vocabulary for sales pitches does not have to be advanced. at all. Exercise 3, you're selling a product that will compete with the Happy Hot Dog Man. It's the Handy Hamburger, a product that allows you to shape your burgers and buns in the shape of a human hand. That way it's easier to hold. It's completely stupid, but students are going to have fun trying to come up with a sales pitch for this really silly hamburger. And a similar activity, so here we're at a production stage, and you might, the strategies, I mean, when the reading text that we write might have vocabulary and things like that might surprise students and might require some pre-teach. But actually, the production activity, honestly, you can use that any level, any age. Check it out. It's very simple. We've just made a bunch of items to sell, and some of them are really, really straightforward and simple. Watch, umbrella, things like that. What you want to do using these, we want it to be as flexible as possible, because as you saw in the P1 activity, you can pretty much talk to anyone. So what I recommend for this kind of activity is you simply do it in a roll dice scenario. You give them 6 scenarios, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and when I roll the dice, that tells me who I'm going to speak with. So I roll the dice 4. Oh, it's a teenage couple in love, for example. Again, I'm trying to sell them, I don't know, a bunny rabbit. This shouldn't be too hard. Then I need to sell a desk. I roll the dice and boom, number 1. It's a grandma, for example. Oh, well, actually, if it's a grandma, I'll try to focus on, hey, you have grandchildren, you want them to spend more time at home. Get them a desk so they can do their homework at your place instead of their parents' place. I don't know, something like that. Clear?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Any questions, comments, and sales pitches?
No.
No?
No.
You see, I just click on sales pitch again and it disappears. One more thing I wanted to show. So you see here, there's some that I haven't gone over. Really, there are 6 pages. There are loads of different topics. I want to focus today on the most straightforward ones to start integrating at the beginning of the year, things that are not too complicated and not too high level. You see here, you have things like arrogance. So that's where students will have fun playing with language and being more or less arrogant, for them to be able to identify that. Because arrogance is a big thing in English culture. There's sugarcoating, giving bad news in a positive way. You see, spin, undercutting others' ideas. Things like that are important for them to know, but at higher level. I also wanted to show you flowery language. Some of you know flowery language for having done it in our soft skills course, but actually there's loads of material online as well for flowery language. Why? Because flowery language is really important. This is, again, something, I know we put C2 level on the database, but we're rethinking it. We're going to adapt it because this is something you can start working on at B1, B2 level with your students. The whole idea of flowery language is how to enhance your speech, how to make it more beautiful without going to advanced level grammar and vocabulary, because that just sounds often more formal and sometimes unnatural in spoken English. Let me show you strategies. So the whole goal here, what we're going to do, for example, is look, what we want to do is interesting English. We want to make our speech more interesting, more appealing, more engaging, more motivating, but without the need to speak like Shakespeare. And we're going to teach students, for example, to do metaphors and similes.
Mhm.
And we give them a very simple formula. A simile is, this is as that, or this is like that. The comment cut me like a knife. That was a tough comment, right? If the comment cut me like a knife, you don't need to say that the comment was hard, was difficult, was mean, whatever it was. There are different interpretations, but what's for sure is it hurt me. The comment cut me like a knife. It's a very beautiful way of putting it. A metaphor, X is Y. So the comment was a knife stabbing me in the back. The only difference is we don't use as or like. A metaphor is direct. Do you need to be C1, C2 level to do something like this? You don't. The examples here, I mean, it's past simple and past continuous. So these are different strategies for flowery language. Exaggeration, teaching students are going to practice here using more emotional words. I find that very important for example, why do we teach gradable, non-gradable adjectives? Because, well, gradable adjectives are good, but if you really want to express something, if you want to engage people, you don't say that, you know, last night I did go to the cinema, I saw the last Tarantino movie, it was good. It was very good. Even if I say it was really good, it will never be, oh, it was awesome. Best movie I've ever seen. So students are going to have fun with exaggeration and also with comparing to various situations. This is worse than when. It's not as good as, but it's close. I haven't done this since. Take a look at the married couple here. This is worse than when I forgot my friend's wedding. Today isn't as good as my wedding day, but it's close. That's how I felt in Yaroslav, right? I haven't been this excited since I found out we were having hot chocolate at my wedding. This is flowery language. These are great ways to express yourself, and it's obvious. It's not something very easy to learn for students because textbooks just don't touch this at all. It's a very easy way for students to gain a lot of grades in their writing tasks without much effort. Let me show you the P1 activities you can do with this. So of course, always it starts with vocabulary, and then check it out. Use flowery language to review the restaurant Kevin's Gourmet. So in the first column, the information is in a positive light, and in the second, they make it negative. So for example, the appetizers are small. Well, the students can have fun with similes, like the appetizers were for insects, for example. Ha ha ha. It makes it sound like tiny little appetizers for insects. The prices are high. I never looked that high at prices since I was at the Empire State Building. The main courses were room temperature, things like that. The students are going to have fun. They're going to hear on their own. It's a P1 activity. They play with language, exaggerations, similes, to just change the information, make it more flowery, more beautiful. Next page. This is an example of manager at your company, okay? You're a manager at your company, you love your work, you've been charged with showing around the new interns. And the students describe each aspect using flowery language. Page 4, and then page 5. It's funny, it's the opposite. You're the same person, but you lost your job. They betrayed you. Write your review of the company online. Be sure to use flowery language to describe how horrible everything was.
Funny.
So this is the, sorry?
Funny.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Mhm.
There are more exercises. I also like this one, more for teens. Look, exercise 1, you're a blogger. You want to stand out from other bloggers. So this is something that speaks more to teens. They have to use flowery language to you know, that's how bloggers are online. Most of the time, they don't really talk about anything. They're describing everyday life, but in such a way that people want to listen to them. And here we're helping our students develop that. If you introduce flowery language to teens by telling them that's what your bloggers do, they're gonna love it. And so they have to describe waking up early in the morning using similes, metaphors, exaggeration. I felt like I was gonna die. Teens do that. That's what they'll tell you. So this is blogger style. This is more for the teens. Let's just show you the P1 type of activities you can do with flowery language. And then check it out. There are a lot of P3 and production activities as well. Overly enthusiastic, critic disagreement, oversell, beat the slogan. Let's have a look at beat the slogan. I actually don't remember beat the slogan. That's why I'm interested. So you see, it can be both a P1 and a production. Let's check it out very quickly. This activity is meant to give the students the opportunity to practice using that in a game format. Each slogan card has both a product for sale and a slogan. Students must come up with slogans that will improve. So actually, here we describe, now I remember it, perfect. The first way you can do it is a controlled practice, a P1. If you give the cards and students on their own, like write the slogans, things like that, it's more like a P1. You're giving students the time to do it. And then lower, we describe the production version. Students work for an advertising company. Several clients have asked the company to come up with new ad slogans. The students come up with ideas individually and then discuss in a kind of company meeting format. And they pick the best slogan for each product. We even include an activity extension. When we do that, that's just for you to have more and more options, because really these activities are very flexible. There's a lot you can do with them. So activity extension, have one student represent the client company. The students pitch their ideas to the client company representative, who either accepts or rejects their ideas. These are different ways you can do that. Let's have a look at some slogans. Luxury car, the vehicle of the future. It's not bad, but it's not great. Let's make it better. Breakfast sandwich, get a head start on the day. Bakery, the best bread in town. Do you see the students are going to have fun with these and come up with new slogans for them? Let's beat the slogan. There are a lot of flowery language activities because really, this is a great way for students to start having fun with the language, playing with the language. You might have heard my example. For this, I often like referencing basic poetry. I mean, if your students are adults, Pushkin is huge. He's huge. It's a fact. He was a genius. He was a genius, but if you think of language in a way that there's only one way to say one thing, if Pushkin only had one way of saying that a woman is beautiful or that the weather is terrible today, well, then there would be no poetry. There would be no Pushkin. It would be a very boring formation. Overly enthusiastic is good fun because I wanted to show you this as well, because this is a kind of activity that you can, it's super flexible. Check it out. There are no real cards. The activity is meant to give the students the opportunity to practice using flowery language. So on the board, you draw a simple chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you elicit locations from students. Now this chart is the first time students roll a dice. The second one, as you can see, is just to understand if they're overly critical or overly positive. And so you write down locations so that it's locations inspired by students, because that will give them more ideas. Usually I find when I force locations on my students, It doesn't always speak to them. I don't know where they've been, which holidays and which memorable holidays they've had yet. So I don't fully know what they're going to want to talk about and how enthusiastic or critical they're going to be about it. I want to generate very strong reactions for flowery language. So I elicit 6 locations from the students. They roll a first die. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. 5 is, I don't know. We're in St. Petersburg. 5 is, for example, the outskirts of St. Petersburg. And then they roll the dice a second time to find out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whether they're overly critical or overly positive. If you're in St. Petersburg, you know about Devyatkina, for example. So, for example, I rolled number 5, I get Devyatkina, and I roll 5 again, overly positive. That's perfect. Devyatkina is awesome. I don't know if you've ever been there, but really. Okay, it's true. It's far. It's really, really far. You have no idea how far it is. You'll probably fall asleep on your way there. That's how far it is. But you know what? Everything is modern. I mean, 2 years ago, there was literally nothing there. Absolutely nothing. And they built everything from scratch up. So everything is modern. Everything is spick and spec. And you can continue like that. Then you roll another die. 1. I don't know. What other wonderful places do we have in St. Petersburg? Kupshina. Number 1 is Kupshina. I roll 1, 2, 3. I'm overly critical. The students are going to have fun because those are places that speak to them. If you elicit it from them, those are places that speak to them, and they're going to have an easier time being overly critical or overly positive. That is why in this kind of activity, overly enthusiastic, we do not give you cards because that's the way it'll work best for you as a teacher in class. And location is just one example, but you can really do that on a lot of different ideas. A recipe, a food recipe, a meal, a celebrity, a YouTube blogger. If you're doing teens, I elicit YouTube bloggers with them, honestly. By the way, if you were at my courses, I remember we talked about bloggers, English bloggers. I mentioned that for me personally, I love the blogger for Russian. I love Paravalit, and I found an equivalent for you in English. It's called Travelman. Where's the chat? Where's the chat? There you go. Does everybody see the chat?
Yes.
Travelman. There you go. Check it out on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very good format that your teens will like. It's a YouTube format.
Okay.
I highly recommend you check Travelman out. You'll see that you'll start understanding. I've started watching things on YouTube just to keep aware of what's going on and everything. And that's something you can do with teens. Instead of location, elicit YouTube bloggers or YouTube channels. They'll have loads of fun criticizing or being overly enthusiastic with them. Do you have any comments or questions on flowery language? Because just to be sure, I'm not entirely sure, but from what I understand on Zoom, I mean, I planned it from 5 to 6:30. If I'm not mistaken, at 6:30 precisely, they're going to cut the video. So if you have any questions, comments, I repeat again, never hesitate to write me. You are not allowed to hesitate to write me, okay?
Okay.
I answer and I will answer and I will support. Don't hesitate. If you have any questions and comments right now, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you very much for your talk.
You're welcome.
It was very interesting.
Antoine, and how can we use this database shall we buy it or what?
Yes, you should be. I sent you. You already have an account, don't you?
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe I haven't registered yet.
Oh, that's surprising. I thought I had only sent to those of you who were already on it. Yes, you can easily register. Wait, look, I'll write in the chat. That's the address that you can follow, and you'll find.
Yeah.
With that link, you'll go directly on our database. I don't like calling it database because it sounds too technical. It's our website materials. You see the link here, red.resourceeducation.com.
Thank you.
All you have to do is register. Be careful when you register. You don't automatically don't automatically apply for the discount. So I don't know if you're aware, we have a discount at the moment. So if your price, when you click on it, if your price is 1,000 rubles, don't pay. Contact me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I might not have switched you to the discount, in which case I will.
Okay, thank you.
All right. If you already have an account, it's automatically, I've already switched you to the discount. Don't worry about it.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I see that it's past 6:30 and they're not cutting, so that's a good thing. As I said, I can really continue. There are loads and loads of soft skills on there. There are 6 pages. I don't want to go over them all because I know that some of the higher level ones will require a lot more preparation. And that's not the goal for today. The goal for today is really to focus on how to plan, how to prepare for lessons efficiently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good job. Thank you very much.
If you're interested, tomorrow, I forget, tomorrow's P2s, right?
Please check it.
Well, I'm giving 2 more webinars this week, tomorrow and on Thursday. So I'll send the links anyways. I believe, yes, tomorrow we're doing P2s.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
All right, yes, thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
No, thanks. Thanks a lot.
No, everything's fine?
Uh-huh.
All right. All right, then I'll close the webinar for today.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a completely different topic, right? Not soft skills. We're going to literally just go over how to find very quickly the best P2 activities to automate skills.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
For different levels, am I right? For teens and tweens and so on.
Exactly.
Interesting.
We've really got a huge collection of P2 activities. And as we said, like Tom and I work on these every week. So if you need more, it's very simple just to tell us.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to purchase the first month, and last time I had some problems, so if I have some right now, I will just write you an email, okay?
Yeah, of course, don't worry.
Thank you.
That was it for the questions?
No
All
question.
right.
Yes.
So see you all tomorrow for the P2s, right? I'm pretty sure it's P2s. If it's not P2s, you'll see it in the email.
Okay, see you. Bye.
See you tomorrow. And enjoy the last days of summer before the
Mhm.
1st of September.
Yes, that is. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
Goodbye.
Bye.